Welcome everyone to our Diversity Advisory Board meeting. Please remember that our meeting today is being recorded, and we will start with taking a look at our meeting minutes from last month. Do I have any comments on those March meeting minutes from anyone? I don't see anything. I have a couple quick comments. The first is on page 3, just a little bit of repetitive language in the second line that says, and what HR is doing to create an inclusive workplace. And then in number 7, cultural sharing, I just had a question. Is that how you spell Nowruz? I'm not an expert on that, but I wasn't sure if that was spelled correctly.
I answered that because Nowruz, because it's in word in Persian, kind of spelled in English. Different people spell it differently. So, like for example, I write Nowruz. Some people get Nouruz. Just the meaning is important. That no means new, and Ruz means day. So it's a new day, and we call it the new year.
Okay, thank you. If everything else looks good to everyone, could I get a motion to approve those meeting minutes? Shara, do I have a second? Anusha, all in favor? Hands please, thank you. Any opposed? All right, looks like the meeting minutes are approved, thank you. And I just wanted to remind folks that in those meeting minutes, you'll see, if you remember, Councilor Soucie did bring up a really good question for all of us to continue considering. He asked us what aspects of the DEI plan that we're not currently doing well at the city are most important to us. So I want to encourage everyone to continue reflecting on that and to connect with Councilor Soucie. When you do have thoughts, please respond to him. And we are still considering as a leadership team how to incorporate some more of that discussion into our meeting time. So thank you again, Councilor Soucie, for bringing that up last meeting. We are going to move on to public comment now, and I know we have a few folks here today. So we are going to have to kind of impose a time limit for our visitors today. I'm going to ask folks who are speaking during public comment to please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And then Alexis is going to organize this portion of the agenda for us.
Sure. So it looks to me like, yeah, if you could raise your hand or indicate in the chat if you would like to make a comment. I know from a few of you who just gave me a heads up. So I see Oswaldo, I see Jenna. I believe that Jerome as well. Donna, would you like to be in the queue to make a comment, or are you just here to listen? Just here to listen. Okay, great. So we actually have 3 people, Rachel, so I don't know if that changes your.
Sure, up to 4 minutes then.
Okay, great. All right, well, I will just say, maybe it's just because it's the electronic one, but I saw Jenna first. So do you mind going first, Jenna? And then we will go to whoever's next on my screen, which would be Oswaldo, and then I see Jerome. So we'll go in that order, and I'll just let you know if you're getting close to your 4 minutes. Go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah, and I won't need a full 4 minutes. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Hughes. I'm an associate planner with the Community Development Department at the city. And I just wanted to make a quick announcement about a couple upcoming housing related events that we're having on April 24th and May 19th. They're virtual events that we're doing in partnership with Unite Oregon. And for the first 50 people who register, there's a $25 stipend available. The first one is really focused more on the affordable housing program, but will also be very informative in terms of like how to apply for affordable housing, what type of screening criteria to you need to look out for, renters protections. The second one is a bit more about creating inclusive neighborhoods. So different housing types at different income levels will also have resources on affordable home ownership opportunities. I'm going to post a link in the chat. And if you have, and contact information if you want to reach out to me at any point. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Jenna.
Can we have that in the email, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you want to just post it in the chat, and then I can drop it in an email that I have for you all with announcements as well.
Thank you so much. Hi, Jenna, do you remember me?
Great. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to Oswaldo then. Go ahead.
Excellent, thank you. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's good to be back at the DAV meeting. As some of you, the majority of you know, I was a board member for 6 years. This year, I have been part of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, URAC, and it's been a good experience so far. And very important, and I am actually very happy to have made that move because I'm learning some stuff that maybe either I was not paying attention before, but the main thing is that now I am. And the job of the Diversity Advisory Board continues. And with that, I like to basically call upon you guys to do follow-up on the restaurant committee division. I think that's what it's called. Either Alexis or Councilor Marc and Soucie can talk to you a little bit about this. But there has been an effort in the last 4 years, at least since 2017 or 2016 when this was created. And then the thing that caught my attention during the last week's meeting was that I asked a question about what percentage of the restaurant owners that are coming into Beaverton as new operations were from communities of color. And I didn't get a satisfactory answer. It was something along the lines of, well, I think it's representative of the percentages that we have, or something along those lines. My point at the meeting was I didn't hear the muchas gracias, the sí señors, and the many other restaurants that we have in the city, the Lima, the Boriken, being part of these renewal efforts. We need to maintain the city accountable for helping our community's success too, for giving us an opportunity to continue to strive, to continue to do better doing this business. So keep an eye on that. We got a report from Megan Brownstein, and there's a lot of great restaurants coming to Beaverton. That's fantastic news. But we need to make sure that we're getting opportunities too. And I think that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. So with your efforts, especially the Economic Development Subcommittee, please ask your leadership to bring these people to the board meeting to do a report and ask those uncomfortable questions, please. Our work is ongoing. We cannot rest. So it is on us to continue doing this, to keep the city accountable, and our leadership that we have elected to do the job that we elected them for to do. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and have a fantastic meeting.
Thanks, Oswaldo. All right, well, I will go ahead and turn the floor over to Jerome.
All right, well, thank you so much, Alexis. Good to see you again. Councilor Soucie, a pleasure as always. And Teresa, I can't see you, but thank you for your service. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Jerome Sabayan, and I'm running for Beaverton City Council because I am a public servant who will serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. I am a veteran, a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel who served for 28 years in war and peace around the world and throughout the United States. While serving in the Corps of Engineers, I became a professional engineer with bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering. I know that infrastructure reveals who we are and our beliefs on how we want to live. I'm an educator with master's and doctorate degrees in political science and history. I have taught courses on healthcare inequities and human rights at Portland State University, and currently teach graduate courses on national security and critical thinking at the Army War College. Like you, I am a community volunteer who has served the people of Beaverton through the Human Rights Advisory Commission, Community Emergency Response Team, Beaverton Severe Weather Shelter, Social Services Funding Committee, Beaverton School District Bond Accountability Committee, Metro's Get Moving 2020 Transportation Infrastructure Investment Team, and Home Plate for Homeless Youth. I also serve with Engineers Without Borders Community Engineering Corps and the Education First Scholarship Foundation, all benefiting traditionally underserved communities. I am self-funding my campaign and, if elected, will donate all after-tax counselor compensation to local nonprofits. I am the son of Filipino immigrants and was raised in Salem. And despite everything I just told you about myself, I am, like many other Black, Indigenous, and people of color in Beaverton, an unseen stranger in this land. Your work is crucially important for our community and society. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for your service. I would like to type my email address in the chat if you can.
Thank you, Jerome and Oswaldo and Jenna for your comments tonight. Does that wrap up our public comment? Looks like.
Yep, it sure does.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. We do not have cultural sharing tonight. Christian was unable to be with us this evening, so we are going to move straight into our liaison reports, starting with Councilor Soucie, please.
Yeah, certainly. I'll give you a couple of brief updates on things and then open up for questions. Obviously, one of the things that the council is most busy with right now is preparing to engage in the process of choosing a long-term city manager for the city. As everyone knows, we have a interim city manager working with us right now, who's going to be with us until such time as the new city manager is able to start. We have been soliciting public opinion about some basic questions. We've been looking for feedback on what kinds of characteristics were most important to people in our consideration of applicants for the city manager position. We got that feedback that will be presented to the council soon. We have the application period is open, I think, until it might have been yesterday. We will be getting from our recruiting consultant the list of applicants for the city manager position this week. And at our city council meeting next week on the 20th, in an executive session not open to the public, we will go through those candidates and choose a set of what we call semi-finalists who will be invited in for interviews with the city council. Then at the end of the month, the April 27th meeting, or sometime in the vicinity of April 27th, I don't know that the date has been fully pinned down yet, we will actually do those interviews. And then we will select one or more finalists. And then in May, we will have interviews of the finalists. In between the interviews of the semifinalists and the interviews of the finalists, there will be a number of stakeholder groups that will interview those finalist candidates. That will include members of the city staff, our department heads, our internal equity team, the union, and some of our outside partners as well. And then hopefully in the middle of May sometime, the council will get together and make a decision on who the best candidate is for the city manager position. So needless to say, we're going to be reading and considering and talking quite a bit during the next 6 weeks as we go through the rest of that process. Another thing that's occupying a lot of time and attention is all of the work that has been coming our way from the federal government. When the new administration took over, they made it clear that they wanted to commit some significant financial resources to recovery from the COVID epidemic. Sort of a follow-up to the first set of stimulus activities that were done a year ago, April, that's 12 months ago. The new packages, the contents and the rules for distribution are being finalized right now by the federal government. We should be getting our marching orders on how to deploy that money sometime in the next week or two. And so there will be some conversations at the city council about how to allocate those things over which we have significant flexibility. There's quite a bit of money that is intended to come directly to the city of Beaverton. Part of this package that the federal government passed included direct payments to local governments, county and city governments. And Beaverton, because of its size, qualifies for one of those direct payments. It'll actually be 2 payments, one this year and one next year. There will be rules, there will be categories, there will be requirements, but we understand that there will be some flexibility in how we deploy that money. And so one of the things that our mayor and the staff are doing vigorously right now is trying to communicate and coordinate with the state government and with the county government and with the neighboring cities to make sure that each of the jurisdictions that is receiving money under this federal package is applying it to the things that they are most able to apply their monies to, so that we don't have everybody piling on one category of need and ignoring some other categories of need. So we're trying to coordinate everything so that, for instance, if the state puts a lot of money into housing, then the city may end up putting more money into local economic recovery, and so on. So it's kind of a communication dance going on to try to figure out who's going to put what money where, with nobody knowing quite yet what the rules are from the federal government or what all of the rules are. So there's going to be some furious activity over probably the next 2 to 3 weeks in order to sort all that out. Another thing I wanted to mention related to what Osvaldo mentioned when he spoke to us, and if you're still here, Osvaldo, this is for you. He was entirely right that the restaurant strategy is a significant forward motion program for us. We've been working on it for quite a while. But I can tell you that the city council, one of the city council's highest priorities for that is that we do seek out and support the 1-person and 2-person small business entrepreneurs who want to begin to get into the restaurant industry, who want to take a concept and move it into an actual place. So for instance, we've asked staff to take a look at all of the food vendors who've participated in night markets. We've asked staff to take a look at all of the small food vendors who are operating food carts in the city and see if we can help them, if they're ready, to move on to operating in an established physical location, leasing space from an existing location, or if they have the resources, ambition to do so, to construct something new for themselves. So that's a big deal for us. And sort of in parallel with that, and Osvaldo may have heard about this as part of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, our staff have initiated a large program that we've called the Downtown Equity Strategy, which is meant to find ways to have the continued development and redevelopment of the downtown area of Beaverton be supportive of the minority communities in Beaverton in a stronger way than would be necessary if we just left the development process to its own devices. So we want to insert ourselves into that process to a greater degree and make sure that the communities of color are being supported as we go through a variety of different types of downtown redevelopment. So Osvaldo and the other members of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee will be heavily involved in the implementation of that strategy, but it's really being developed right now. So don't be surprised if there is a presentation here at the Diversity Advisory Board sometime in the next couple, 3 months about that strategy from city staff in order to get feedback from you about what would be effective elements of that strategy going forward. The last thing I want to mention is for those who are interested, tomorrow night at our city council meeting, there is going to be a presentation about what's called the supportive housing local implementation plan. You folks may remember that there was a regional ballot measure recently sponsored by Metro, but really sponsored by a number of organizations around the region for taxpayers to support an ongoing levy of taxes to provide services for supportive housing for people who are struggling with homelessness or very low income residents, disabled residents, elderly residents who need extra help just to get by day to day. And the local implementation plans are meant to identify the best ways to deploy the money that Metro is going to be making available to local jurisdictions for that. So we're going to get a presentation tomorrow night on what the current thinking is on those local implementation plans for Beaverton and for Washington County and the region. So if you're interested in that topic, tune in, because it should be a really interesting presentation, including our staff and members of Washington County and Metro, I believe. So with that, I'll stop talking and see if anybody has any questions for me about city council business. Monica.
Hi, nice seeing you.
You
I
do?
have a question. You mentioned that it will be a specific for restaurant, that people who wants to open a restaurant or any other small business, or just the restaurant for now?
Oh, well, we don't discriminate between restaurants and other kinds of small business, but certainly one very definite element of our downtown redevelopment work for several years now has been to try to promote an increase in the number and variety of restaurants in the downtown area. As we build more apartments, as private developers build more apartments, as we do more affordable housing, we're bringing people to the downtown. As people like to go out and have food in non-pandemic days, of course. And the two tend to work together. A good population of restaurants also attracts more private investment in housing, which is something that we want to encourage, as well as private investment in businesses, because businesses love to locate where their employees can enjoy a nice quality of life, including great places to eat before, during, or after work. So all these things kind of work together. So our downtown equity strategy is broad. The restaurant strategy is narrow, but they're meant to work together.
Okay.
Brandon.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Councilor Soucie. A couple questions for you real quick. Is there any indication of how much money will be coming to the city of Beaverton through the COVID Relief Act?
We're told it's in the vicinity of $16 million, again, broken into two chunks over this year and next year. The exact amount, TBD.
All right. Would it be possible for DAB to kind of brainstorm up some, and I know it was prefaced earlier that we're figuring out a way to kind of give feedback. In the past, we would all go around the room and write on the wall. It was kind of fun. I miss those days. But I think that I'm not going to go into a speech or anything like that, but there's really a lot of opportunity for nonprofits and like culturally responsive supports and mental health, addiction kind of needs relating to, the pandemic. We're going to see a lot of that afterward. So I would love to just be able to provide some feedback on that, not heavy-handedly or anything like that, but just so that the community, I think that everybody here provides like a unique lens, just because we're from a group from so many different cultures of our needs, and it would be great to do that. And then with the development, one of my concerns is just gentrification. And so I would love to see some of that money like being used with the restaurants on Allen Boulevard, if possible. I don't know if that's quite outside of the periphery of downtown, but it feels a little funny to me for money to be spent on solely like outside larger restaurants when we have restaurants right here that have been here for a very long time that could use some sprucing up too. And I'm not going to take up any more space here, I promise.
And let me just say, first of all, if the Diversity Advisory Board or members of the Diversity Advisory Board or anybody watching wants to provide ideas about how the relief money should or could be spent, you are welcome to send those comments to Alexis, to me, or to the mayor's office. The mayor is the one spending the most time with the federal delegation and with the lobbyists, trying to chunk through what the requirements are. So that's probably the most direct route right now.
I meant as a collective group though, because I feel like this group has you know what I mean, like a capacity and capability to put forward a recommendation.
Yeah, you bet. You folks get to decide how you want to do that. But if you want to direct those to the city council, we will absolutely take a look at what you send us.
Awesome.
Count on that. And then with respect to the restaurant strategy in Allen Boulevard, we actually, part of the restaurant strategy involves offering tenant improvement grants and storefront improvement grants to restaurants. We are doing that on Allen Boulevard. And
sure, I know, but I just worry about landlords getting the benefit of that as opposed to if the restaurant owner doesn't necessarily own the building. But I hear you. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Nope. Good topic.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yep. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Councilor Soucie, and thank you everyone for your questions. It does not look like Karenna is here today, I don't think. So we'll move on to Teresa with an HTAG update.
Hello all. So have a quick update on the 4 different projects. So each one of them has a name now. So there's the South Cooper Mountain project, the El Monica, the Senior Affordable Housing Project on 5th Street. And I just want to give a side note, thank you to everyone who attended that open public listening session. And last but not least, the Marianne. So very quickly, so South Cooper Mountain, it's across the street from Mountainside High School, 42 acres of a planned unit. The project proposed includes 309 units of affordable housing, 30,000 square feet of commercial space, and 13 acres of public open space and trails, including 3 public parks, 297 units of market rate housing, and it's scheduled to begin construction later this summer, 2021. The El Monica, the Metro has released the RFQ, the request for qualifications to develop the El Monica Affordable Housing Project, and proposals are currently being reviewed by the Housing Technical Advisory Group. So can't tell you much more than that, other than fierce debate. And we hope to have as many affordable housing units, deeply affordable, that we can negotiate with some of the developers that have applied. Third, the Senior Affordable Housing Project, formerly known as Project C. The Senior Affordable Housing Project on 5th Street is one of the Metro Affordable Housing Bond projects modeled in the Beaverton Local Implementation Strategy. And guess who's on the cover of that? Yours truly. As the project with the most deeply affordable units, 38 out of the 66 that are going to be built. The best location for the project is obviously in central Beaverton, close to a lot of amenities, public transportation and social services. And last but not least, the Marianne, the first selected project, following the approval of the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, was approved by the Beaverton Planning Commission and City Council last year, and the project broke ground June of 2020. So if you actually drive near the Marianne, you'll probably see the foundation has been laid, and the wooden pieces are up, and I don't know what they're doing now, but I could certainly, if anyone has time to drive by this weekend, non-suspiciously, please do and give us an update on that. And that is your HTAG report.
Thanks, Teresa. That was very informative. Did we have any questions for Teresa before we moved on? Okay, thanks. We'll get an extended BPD liaison update today because we have a couple of guests joining our regular representatives. We have a couple of new internal equity team representatives here with us tonight, Tina and Amanda. I think the way I'd like to do this is I'd like to hear from them first, and then if we could follow their introductions and a little discussion with them with your regular BPD liaison report, whatever you want to put in there, that would be great. And yeah, so if Tina and Amanda want to introduce themselves and maybe share why they joined the internal equity team, that would be great, and then we'll go from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Tina Jimenez and I've been with the PD now for 8 years. I work for the Records Division and I just want to be a part of, diversity and including everybody and everything. So this was kind of my way to get out there and kind of make a difference.
Hello, I'm Amanda Picard. I'm a patrol officer with Beaverton, currently assigned to the Family Justice Center. I work domestic violence cases most every single day in a variety of capacities initiated by patrol or that come from the DA's office or even other agencies. And I'm a resource with extensive training in the area of investigation of domestic violence and strangulation, restraining orders and services, etc. And then a senior patrol officer for the department and a field training officer and a member of Honor Guard and a member of our peer support team and dedicated to the police department, which is probably the best that I've seen in any of my ride-alongs across the United States in a variety of states. We have extremely high caliber of expectations and officers and training, and I get to be a part of that at this point in my career. So it's an honor to be with Beaverton Police. So I'm representing the police department and patrol for this meeting for today, and then as a member of the internal equity team as well. So that patrol is represented. Otherwise, we don't have a lot of insight as to what happens within that can directly affect our hiring and promotional processes within our PD.
I would like to open it up to other DAB folks to be able to ask some questions of Tina and Amanda, if you all have any. I do have one, but I'd like to let other people have a chance first.
Hi, this is Teresa. Amanda, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Hope you can hear me. So I think it's just absolutely fabulous, the department that you're in, being a woman, protecting families and women, particularly who statistically happen to be higher in domestic violence cases, not all. So I just want to really give kudos to you and your role for, being a face of strength and courage, especially when you're arriving on scene in those situations. Do you mind, being a part of the internal equity team and being one of the few women on the police force? Can you just speak to, very briefly, kind of your backstory on how you became a police officer? Because you're a dime a dozen, and not sure if you know this, but I remember I was a little kid, and in my apartment complex, there was a female officer, and I said to her, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a police officer because men rule the world. And she was like, sweetheart, men don't rule the world, and they may be in power, but, that's only because we vote them in. You can be anything you want to be. This is a police officer, by the way. So for you, if you wouldn't mind, just all the little girls watching this DAB meeting that's being recorded, to talk a little bit about how you carry yourself when you come onto these themes and how being a woman, has not hindered you as far as the equity conversation, as far as being an example in a predominantly male-dominated field. Would you mind just sharing brief?
We're going to be here till midnight, but a brief synopsis of that would be raised in Southwest Portland, attended local high school, attended Pacific University in Forest Grove. Stable, functional family encouraged me to do anything that I set my sights on. And that belief has carried me through a lot. It wasn't like I was raised around military or law enforcement or even guns. I had a lot of potential and definitely desire to continue learning. And I continue to do that at 26 years into my career. There's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something. And so if I'm learning something, also, I'm hoping that I can also pass on some of that knowledge or experience in my skill set, and then kind of my attitude or perspective on life as well, which is we can kind of find something in common with every person we come across out here. And I really want to convey to the public, especially non-law enforcement public, that our behavior at Beaverton Police is a response to other people's behavior in terms of action, reaction, and the color of skin doesn't determine our response here at Beaverton Police, but it's the potentially criminal or dangerous or threatening behavior which determines our response and if we engage with somebody or how we engage with somebody. And so I can say that fairly and adequately with my experience and training and being able to put eyes on other agencies and be inside their patrol cars and see how other agencies train across the United States. And I would say that Beaverton is one of the best agencies, if not the best in the state. I'm really proud to be a member of it. I wouldn't let gender, height, language, cultural, religious differences prevent you from pursuing something that you believe in, especially if you think about wanting to make a difference in your tiny corner of the world. Then forge ahead. There are other people that have paved that path for you, as have done for me prior to me entering law enforcement. I was extremely naive, very book smart, not street smart, but continuing to want to learn, knowing and learning how to take constructive criticism, and then never giving up on myself or giving up on the goal of maintaining professional attitude and reputation within this career, and knowing that I'm making a difference even in little tiny pieces or little tiny connections, or even just something that's casual, whether it's a phone call or an in-person contact that's not even a criminal investigation, that you can make a positive difference. And so that is a huge responsibility and honor, and I value my opportunity to do that. Hopefully that's enough and short enough.
Are there any other questions for Tina or Amanda? Then I will ask one. I was wondering what you each see your role as far as serving as a liaison, maybe of information between the internal equity team and your respective departments within the Beaverton Police Department.
I'll take that, Tina, while you're formulating a really lengthy and excellent answer. Again, I'm new to the IET, so I'm here to listen and learn and have an open mind. I've already learned quite a bit from the other discussion going on from other departments, representatives, and then I've had my perspective widened happily by some books that have been provided by the same organization or the same department, meeting or group that's been organized through IET. And the books have been extremely interesting and educational, which is one of the reasons I really liked college, was learning things and expanding my own horizons and being able to walk in somebody else's shoes without actually having to do it, but I can read about it and increase my perspective and empathy in that area. So that's been an eye-opening experience as well. Otherwise, I'm here to represent the police department so that we have some feedback as to what other subgroups that affect the police department, and I believe the police department is the biggest provider of the Beaverton, City of Beaverton employees. So we're a huge force and can be dramatically impacted by decisions above us.
Hey, so like I said, it's only my second meeting with the internal equity team, so I'm still kind of learning and trying to figure out exactly what I can do to be that tool to help between the city and the police department. But I'm attending the GAR meeting, which is next month, and hopefully that can, you know, be a tool that we could use also here at the PD at some point.
Is there anything else that either of you would like to share with us before we hear a general BPD update?
I had a quick question. So how many women are on the department at the moment?
Very good question. I'm going to say there's only myself on relief shift. I'm sorry, that's not true. There's Officer Sabrina Johnson on relief shift. There's 2 of us. There are 2 women on swing shift. There are 2 female detectives. There is a female sergeant in detectives. We have, of course, the leader of the pack would be our female chief. We also have a female on graveyard. She's on light duty right now. We have a brand new female recruit that's still training with a field training officer on day shift. Am I missing any others, Tina, that you can think of? I know I am. Oh, I know we have a female traffic officer. No other female supervisors, no female canines, no female captains or lieutenants. Any others, Tina?
2 new recruits, female recruits, both on day shift.
Okay.
And I think we have community
services division. Yes, that's 1.
I think that's it.
Yep. It's a very small group, and whether male or female, really, truly, there's not a lot of people that are lining up to become law enforcement at this point. And so that's one reason I try and promote becoming a law enforcement officer with Beaverton, because I definitely believe in it. And I know we do things better and differently.
How many POC police officers are there altogether in Beaverton Police Department?
I'm sorry, can you restate that? I think I missed it.
How many POC officers are there in Beaverton Police Department?
Are you saying people of color?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to use abbreviations with you because I don't think you guys speak the cop lingo. And so I want to make sure that I'm speaking in a way that everyone can understand any abbreviations. So I'll try and avoid them. I want to say my coworker on relief shift is person of color. We have person of color on swing shift. I'm sorry, graveyard. And actually he might be on swings. And then several other, you would have to ask them specific breakdowns of how they would identify. But if you're talking about some obvious people of color, there's a handful. We have a person of color in detectives as well. And there's others on that would probably categorize themselves. Several Pacific Islanders, I would say, probably less than a dozen total. But again, I'd say what ties us together and binds us is the uniform. We're same team. And that really, truly, when you have to think about and break it down what people look like, it takes some additional time because it's not the most obvious thing, at least among Beaverton police. You're thinking about who's on your shift, people who work your district, or people that you hang out with or away from work. And it really doesn't matter with the color part. So it doesn't stick out in my mind.
So what percentage would you say that people of color there are?
For actual law enforcement for Beaverton, maybe about 10%. I'm not the best person to ask for the stats, but if we have less than a dozen and we have maybe about 150, give or take, for overall Beaverton police officers or sworn officers. You could probably find it online on the website. And we're always recruiting all qualified applicants. Again, the color isn't the main part. It's, do you want to do this job? And are you prepared to do this job?
So real quick, I'll just jump in. I sent everyone a link, and this can be found on the public website, but it's a utilization report prepared by the city. It has a breakdown for every city department to include the police department, referencing gender and ethnic data. So It's in the chat. Feel free to take a look at it. It'll also give you some breakdown in some of those larger categories. So there's that. Did my microphone work? Can anyone hear me?
Neil, there's like a background echo. It sounds like a high-pitched whining. I don't know. This is Teresa, by the way. Also, did you highlight your hair? What did you do to your hair? Your hair looks different.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, but I did go to Florida for a week and a half. So there's that.
Yes, Lieutenant, we could all hear you, sir. We could all hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, I'll just talk.
Yes,
loud.
sir.
So I put in the chat the link to the utilization report given by the city, and it has a breakdown of gender and ethnic makeup data that the city has. And it's for every department to include the police department. So that'll show you the breakdown. Even I looked at the numbers the other day, and some aren't even completely accurate because I think our report was in November of 2020. But it'll give you a pretty good idea, at least, or a snapshot of the makeup of the city of Beaverton, including the police department.
Did you want to speak to the first link that you sent as well?
Well, I was waiting for Amanda to get done. I wasn't sure if you were done with him. You kind of threw me off my game because I had a really cool intro for Tina and Amanda, but we went backwards. So they've already oversold themselves. So there's nothing else I can say that would make it better other than it's great working with everyone. And, you know, they're an expert in their craft and I appreciate them being here. But yes, I can go into my report if no one has any more questions for Tina or Amanda.
I think you're good to go, and I'm so sorry that I ruined your flow.
I would have messed it up myself anyway. Don't worry about it. So yeah, that's really, Paul's not here tonight, Captain Wandell. He's on the mend, so he couldn't make tonight. So you just have me, and I'll be brief because I don't think there was anything in the agenda specifically. But what I put in the chat also to note is our bias-based policing report for the year 2020 is out. So feel free to take a look at that. That can also be found on the public website under About Us under Police Department. So there's that. Another thing I want to point out too is we have an update on our crime victims rights card. You probably can't see that too good on my thing here, and I don't have an electronic copy to send you. But what I wanted to note about that was the Oregon DOJ bias response. So for bias, to report a bias crime, it may or may not be a crime, but there's a reporting process that you can also use for this hotline. So something that might not amount to a crime, but it's not right, or there's an indication of bias. There's a DOJ hotline, and that's included in our victim rights cards that all officers carry when they go to different calls, and we have that in 6 languages. So there's that. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Neil. This is Teresa. I have a quick question. So does Amanda outrank you? Just
well, that's a difficult question. Probably not in the literal the chain of command sense, but Amanda has been working here a lot longer than and I got to tell you, there's some things that she can probably run circles around me on. But in the literal sense, no. If you look at the way the chain of command is within the Beaverton Police Department.
I have a question for you as well. So not being able to have enough time to actually go through that bias-based policing report that you just sent out, is there any highlights?
What's that?
I was just going to ask if there were any highlights from that report that you wanted to share.
I don't have any highlights. No, that's something I'd rather people just digest, and we can reconvene on that later. Everybody can take a look at it. It just came out. I haven't fully digested the whole thing, so But it's something we can certainly talk about or put on an agenda. But you're right, that's something that'll probably take more than the next few minutes, I would imagine.
Okay, yeah, that might be a good thing to look at in your liaison report the next meeting. Maybe if there's any.
Well, I would want to carve time out in the agenda. I think it's more in the liaison report. I guess what I would ask too is if you have specific questions, as again, like we've talked about before, if there's specific things that people are interested in or anything that might be confusing or needs clarification or whatever, feel free to get hold of me or Captain Wandell at any point between this meeting and the next meeting or the meeting after that for that matter. And we can certainly work on that, okay? And I apologize if it sounds like I'm yelling. I'm making it past that the noise that you might be hearing because I don't get any feedback, so I don't know how I sound right now. So if it sounds like I'm shouting, I apologize.
Hi, this is Ahmed. I don't know if you will have an answer for this question or not, or like the same topic or not. I don't know if you, of course, you know, like Portland or like whatever city decision this way. The homicide percentage go up like 16,000. So do we prepare to have anything, because maybe that will transfer to Beaverton, or maybe people they will try to do something in Beaverton too. And as a community leader now, many people they don't feel safe and they start, I mean in my community, they start to buy guns to feel more secure and try to protect themselves. And this is what I don't like, honestly. So what do you want us to let them know to make them feel more calm and more safe? Thank you.
Okay, so and I'm sorry, I got most of that. I think you were talking about there's an uptick in homicides. I'm guessing you mean nationwide or even locally.
I'm talking about
wondering what.
I'm talking about Portland because now it's 1,600 double just into 2020. The homicide come on. So did we prepare the city so next to Portland?
Right. I don't have a direct answer to that. I can speak anecdotally that we're still a very proactive police department, and like Amanda spoke of, we have a lot of really good officers who really want to do the right thing. So all I can say to that is we have good investigators, good proactive policing. We have a good intelligence unit. There's a lot of things that go into it to do that. Of course, we can't, it's not a be all end all. We can't absolutely predict what's going to happen, but as far as deterrence, I think that's a big factor. And I think Beaverton has a pretty good reputation for deterrence as well as enforcement. So I don't know what I can tell you specifically to Pat, and I couldn't quite hear it. I think there's some people you want to convey this to. Is that what I'm understanding? Uh-oh. Am I froze or you froze? Okay. No, I lost track. So what I was asking was, you want to, there's some folks or community members that are concerned about the safety in Beaverton, or are we going to see a change in the safety in Beaverton because of what's going on in the metro area? And again, that's nothing. I can't guarantee anything more than we're out there being proactive and looking out for the community's best interest. And sometimes that involves enforcement, detection, deterrence. That's something we've been doing. That's something we'll keep doing.
Thank you so much. And Marc, and thank you for all the hard work you're doing, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for any of our three BPD friends here tonight? Okay, well, thank you so much, Lieutenant Stellingwerf, Amanda, and Tina for being here tonight. It was really nice to meet you guys, and we hope to see you in the future. And we'll now be moving on to our next agenda item. We're going to try to flesh out at least one of our priority areas tonight. The one in particular around housing, and I'm gonna ask our resident housing expert, Teresa, to sort of introduce this topic a little bit more.
Okay, hello. Okay, so we're going to expand on, on some of the focus areas for this year. So as many of you know, when we had our retreat, we discussed housing. So i.e. affordable housing, supportive post-eviction moratorium housing. And with that leadership team, we came up with 3 different areas that we would like to have a conversation about with DAB and see what we can expand on. And forgive me, my notes are all over the place. Rachel, would you happen to have your notes in front of you?
Sure.
Handy?
Yeah, so the 3 areas we were sort of talking about as a starting point within housing are the first one is affordable housing for seniors. Second one is development of a permanent shelter in Washington County. And the third one is youth homelessness. Trish, did you want to say anything more about that?
So one thing that came up with youth homelessness, just kind of starting from the bottom that Rachel mentioned. So youth homelessness, keep in mind that we don't know what a partnership would look like outside of other boards, committees, and commissions. When we were having our retreat, we did have some comments around some organizations that exist within the city of Beaverton, a 501c3 known as Home Plate, which some of you may have heard of, but they are a nonprofit that serves youth within the city of Beaverton between the ages of 12 and 24. They get some referrals from the Beaverton School District and schools in particular, and they work a little bit with some of the other programs like Family Promise, but just looking out for the at-risk youth and trying to see what they can do to help them get housing and supportive services. As many of us know that it's hard being young out there, right? So moving up the ladder, I'm kind of skipping, but senior affordable housing. So I mentioned in the Housing Technical Advisory Group, or HTAG Liaison Report, about the senior affordable housing project on 5th Street. So that's something to keep in mind if you are aware of it. I also shared a little bit about it, but just a little bit more information that it is going to be replacing what currently exists as the Beaverton Community Center and the community gardens, but fear not, the garden beds are movable. So just keep that in mind. That is senior affordable housing more important than gardening? Some people would say yes, some people would say no. That might be too harsh of a statement, but there it is. So we're going to break out into groups and have a conversation. If one person in your group could be the recorder, one person in your group could be sharing out to the larger group after we come back. And
yeah, so the way we would like to do this is we'd like to have folks kind of self-select what sort of subtopic of housing most interests them. Alexis will name them the discussion groups accordingly, and I think has something to say about this.
Sorry, just a brief process facilitator's note. I think I was a little bit confused. I was thinking that you all wanted to split into the 3 groups of the different focus areas for the year, being business development and recovery, support for vulnerable populations, and housing. Would you rather do split into breakout groups around just these 3 housing topics? I thought we were having like a group discussion around housing and what focus, and then possibly like all 3 of those separately, as opposed to, because I don't know that you really want to brainstorm on all 3 of those housing areas. I think the idea was to try to choose a direction for the board. So just clarification on process.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. We want to get a sense for what sub area within housing folks are most interested in pursuing this year. And then we would like to get a little bit more guidance on particularly the other priority area of support for vulnerable populations, if we have enough time to get to that today. So Alexis, are you proposing that we just start with the general housing?
Well, I guess I would suggest that if we want to discuss all 3 of the areas, that we just go ahead and offer those 3 areas as breakout groups, and people can self-select into which of those conversations they want to have, whether it's around refining the housing work for the board, or refining the support for vulnerable populations, or the business development and recovery, and just break out into those groups, and then maybe come back together and see where you all landed, and or if only 2 of the groups ended up with people that were interested and engaged in the conversation tonight, and sort of take it from there.
Sure, that works.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's just fine. Totally had a different understanding about how we're going to do it, but that
I think all 3 of us did. Sorry about that. So, so I have those 3 breakout groups set up. So why don't we just, I'll go ahead and open them up maybe for about 15 minutes. Does that sound all right? And people can self-select into which one of those groups they want to talk more about. And then we'll come back as a group, and as Teresa said, if you all could please, if somebody in the group could keep track of the conversation so you can report back. And then our chair and vice chair can facilitate our conversation around moving those to a point of further clarification on what the board will work on this year. So you will have something that will pop up on your screen, and it will offer you those 3 choices. So you actively need to choose a room, which topic you want to talk about tonight. Make sense? All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button and see you all back in 15 minutes.
Okay, so Alexis, I didn't see any button, so I'm still here.
Which one would you like to be assigned to, Ugonna?
Homeless housing.
Okay, I will put you there. Anybody else is having trouble? I can also assign you.
Yeah, Alexis, I don't see any link, so if you can just put me in housing one, please.
Housing? Sure.
I didn't see anything either.
Me too.
I think I love you guys too much to go.
Yeah, it's not popping up.
Okay, well, it's working for a few people, but not everybody. So just tell me where you'd like to go and I'll get you there. Manijeh, where would you like to go? You're on mute.
Housing, please.
Housing, all right. There you go. Raman, where would you like to go?
Homeless.
I'll send you to housing. The housing or support for vulnerable populations? Housing.
Housing.
Okay, great.
Again, I'm just listening and not a member of the board. Would you like for me to exit, or could I listen in on the conversation for housing?
Yeah, you're welcome to. Let me put you there.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Monica, where would you like to go?
I'm a little confused. What are the areas I see here, the focus areas for the area? Are we just working on housing right now?
No, so we had some information about potential direction for the housing topic, but right now we're just going to go ahead and split people into groups for the 3 different areas, and you can choose any of them.
You're talking about business, support vulnerable population, or housing?
Correct.
I would like to go to support the vulnerable population.
Great. Ahmed, are you there? Would you like me to put you somewhere? Ahmed, Annie, Brandon, Jody?
Yeah, if you can put me in the housing that group.
Great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So let me be the sacrifice person. So which one you have less people so I can go there to support?
We have only one person in support for vulnerable populations and one support, actually, yeah, only one in support for vulnerable populations. So I'll send you there.
Me and Monica, because Monica, she wants to be there too.
Yes, you and Monica are there. Are going to be there if you hit, you have to hit accept the invitation. Okay, Teresa, where would you like to go?
No preference.
Well, you have to choose one. And Brandon, where would you like to go? Monica, I think you have to, oh, maybe I can actually just move you.
Pardon me?
You have to accept the invitation that pops up on your screen.
Oh, I don't see it.
Zoom is not our friend tonight. I'm going to move you and then move you back there. Do you see it now? It should be popping up a little screen on a little option on your screen that allows you to accept moving into the room.
I need my glasses. No, I just had the ones tap to join. Okay.
Yeah.
See my glasses. Not. Is that it? Oh, there's still, I don't have it.
It says tap to join. Yes, that's what you're looking for.
That's what I did, yeah.
Teresa, which one do you want me to put you in?
Whichever one has the least.
Okay, I'll put you in support for vulnerable populations then.
Thank you.
Brandon, do you have somewhere you want to go? Are you there? Monica, I'll try moving you again and see if it pops up. I don't know how to move you otherwise. It just pops up something on your screen.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
I don't see anything on my screen.
I don't know how to move you manually more than what I'm already doing.
Oh, you move me to housing?
Well, I'm just keep trying to move you around so that it could come in. Yes, Jody, absolutely. Are you there? Oh wait, she's gone. So you saw when I moved to housing?
It says the host moved you to housing and it disappeared. That was it.
I keep moving you out and then back into the room so it will pop up on your screen.
Yeah, it is. It did come, but I didn't. Yeah.
You want me to do it again?
Yes, please. I don't see. I don't know where's, okay. No.
Oh, it worked.
We still have 2 minutes left. You bring us back. Okay.
It was set on an automatic timer. So I think it just took us a few minutes to get into the rooms, but if people want to go back, I can send you all right back.
Okay.
Just Uganda didn't share in our group. She can just add it. You're muted and
oh, I was trying to say more, build more on what Donna said. You know, she was talking about homelessness and lack of job, you know, job opportunities, and the fact that we need to, you know, look at both and see how we can solve, maybe solving one can solve the other. And I'm just wondering if that means we have to focus, again, just as Raman had asked, if we have to focus on increasing opportunities for employment, if that is the answer to the homeless situation in Beaverton. So are we gonna focus on making sure that people are employed, people have jobs and are able to pay for their homes or pay their rents, if that would solve the issue of, you know, the housing issues in Beaverton. So it's just something I'm thinking out loud and wondering about it.
On the news last night, there was some jurisdiction, and I didn't catch which one it was, but they had actually set up a jobs program for the homeless, and said that it was helping not only, you know, for money, but also for the feeling of, you know, worth and having a purpose in the day. Yeah.
Did since we're kind of already on the topic of housing, did whoever your dedicated reporter is for the housing group want to kind of share your highlights from your discussion?
Yeah. So we started with managers sharing about the history of DAP and housing issues and how DAP has participated in trying to curb this problem and all the activities that DAP has done regarding this. Shara also suggested that we write a proposal to the city and have the city allocate some funds to solving the issue of homelessness. And then Raman talked about affordability of rent and suggested that it would be great to impose a freeze on rent increase. That rents are going up, you know, they're skyrocketing, and I can attest to that. Every year it goes up, and Raman was suggesting maybe, you know, impose it on the landlords to have put some rent freeze. And Annie talked about serving with the homeless students during the summer times. And she also discovered that the cost of homelessness for youths especially is that their parents are jobless, and suggested maybe if we can try to create job opportunities for the parents, that might help in solving a lot of the housing issues that we're having in Beaverton. And we concluded in saying, Raman also concluded in saying that we can also suggest to landlords to put some form of reduced rent for low-income families. So yeah, that's a nutshell of what we talked about regarding homelessness. Did I miss anything, Tim? Did I miss anything?
You did great. You did great. Thank you. Thank you.
Was there a support for vulnerable populations group?
Yes.
Oh, there was. Okay.
So it was myself, Ahmed, and Monica. And so we discussed vulnerable populations, you know, two things that we brought up in our group were, one, to identify these vulnerable populations that oftentimes, especially in communities of color, there's such a big sense of shame in saying that you need help, and saying that you are financially struggling, and saying that you are on the brink of being homeless, or even that you are homeless, to do anything you can to present yourself well, to be clean, so that no one knows that you're homeless. So I think, so we discussed that the first struggle would be to identify the vulnerable populations, to have people come forward and say that they need help, and two, to build a sense of mutual aid, that the Diversity Advisory Board, with all of our connections, contacts, people that we know, position in the city, that we can have the resources to help people. And Monica had recommended that with her contacts at Cable, similarly to how we're able to network the Beaverton Night Market, to be able to network support for families that are recovering from the end of a moratorium, or to build a sense of mutual aid for community members in Beaverton and the metropolitan area, that we believe that as a community, we have more things in common than we have differences, and this is not a struggle that any one person or one family can resolve. So by inspiring the community to have a sense of mutual aid through our different networks, radio, Beaverton Valley Times, that we could inspire people to help out. So it's not, here's $1,000. It's, hey, show me your PGE bill. How much do you owe? Okay, I can't pay your $20,000 back rent from your commercial property, but we can make sure that you have groceries to last you the remainder of the month, and make sure that your dog has enough dog food, and that your kids, school lunch debt is paid off, and that you have enough gas to get to your next job interview. That is an example. So that's what we talked about briefly. Lots of brainstorming ideas. So, but just once again, identifying vulnerable populations, and then how does helping them look like? And I threw out mutual aid, and we discussed that briefly. So yeah, I just want to really quickly, sorry to take up too much time, but to answer the question in response to the previous group about landlords putting a freeze on rent. So being on HTAG, I can't let this go. I'm just going to give a few knowledge bombs here, that privately owned rental properties, condos, apartments, even homes that are rented out, they have the power to control whether or not they will charge an increase in rent. So more commonly, you'll see that there is a month-to-month rent or 12-month rent leasing contract. By state and federal law, each property management company and landlord can only increase the rent by a certain percentage. It may feel like a lot, but by law, and I have the numbers here, it cannot be any more than 15%. And where I'm getting this from, I did a class with Unite Oregon on tenants' rights, and they also, back before COVID, the city of Beaverton had a tenants' rights seminar, and I'm more than happy to provide my notes with you offline if you would like information on fair housing law. But there is a certain percentage that landlords legally can charge you. So it's not like they can or would put an entire freeze on an increase in rent, but there is a limit to how much they can charge you. So we can talk offline about that. And that a lot of the property management companies and leasing people, even if they forgave all the rent that is back owed, businesses would go under. What happens when businesses go under? People get unemployed. So that would, I rent, so I certainly don't want to be out on the street either, but not allowing anyone to get money or collect money wouldn't perpetuate it. So I hate to be the devil's advocate, just throwing it out there, knowledge bombs, like I said. So if you would like more information on tenants' rights or facts on rent increases, drop a note in the chat, and I am more than happy to answer questions in there. And we'll go on to the next group. If you have not gone, please share.
So I just want to say, I think that's the first time I've ever heard the phrase knowledge bomb, and I liked it a lot, and I'm going to use that. So thank you, Teresa. I generally talk a lot during meetings, so I'm wondering if someone else from my group, the business development and recovery group, maybe Anusha, maybe someone else wants to share.
Yeah, I can go ahead and share a little bit about. I know that we didn't get to wrap it up, so definitely my group, if you want to jump in and add anything I miss. But the two things that we were talking about was nothing really tangible yet that we discussed, but regarding the funding that was brought up today, that the city of Beaverton is going to be getting. Potentially, looking at maybe forming a subcommittee for DAB, so a group of people that could kind of own that and talk through different ideas and brainstorm various ways that maybe DAB feels like that funding could be allocated. So that was one big item that came out of our discussion, as well as looking to take a bigger part in the downtown equity strategy. Rachel, I don't know if you had any specifics there that you wanted to discuss. I know that was the last item that we were talking about before we hopped off, but I think just in general, what we were really talking about is getting more involved in, in an initiative that is a little bit larger. I think what we realized when we were talking through it is that some of these could be kind of a dual effort where they tackle both the business development and recovery focus area, as well as the support for vulnerable populations. And so if we did put a subcommittee together to focus our attention on ways that we could brainstorm ideas for that funding, it would definitely be kind of like combining both of those focus areas. So we felt like that would be a good way to kind of spend our time. But I think that's really the high level summary of what was discussed. My group, if you want to add anything else.
I think there was one point about appreciation for the pandemic support community, to reach out to those organizations so that two things, we can get the data from them, like who was affected and got help, and we can appreciate the work that they have done, like without anything expecting back.
If I could add one little bit of detail, our economic development team, which is involved in some of the distribution of funds from the initial stimulus and then the CARES Act and the ARP, have a list of all of the entities, organizations, and businesses that have received grants from the city already. I'm pretty sure that's public information, and I'm pretty sure that can be made available to the DAB to review as part of any work you do going forward. Alexis, Mike Williams has that.
Thanks, Councilor Soucie, and also thank you for bringing it to our attention that the city was going to be, or is going to be, receiving additional COVID support funding as well.
I just wish I could tell you what kind of process there's going to be, or what sort of restrictions or categorizations there are. It's just, it's being developed kind of as we sit here.
Was there anything else that anybody wanted to add for any of these topics, regardless of whether or not you were involved in that discussion group?
I just want to say, like, we received the information from the vaccine that we were able to share. I think, Teresa, that's part of what we've been doing. Like, people who didn't know or were not affordable, don't have insurance, I don't know. we were able to put on different medias about where they can go when Alexis sent us the pamphlets online. So I think that's part of what we can continue doing, Teresa, whenever the people needs the same way, probably if they need food or they need clothes or anything like that, people who is in very, very weak needs. So we can use something like that too. Thank you, Teresa, for that.
Alexis, is there anything that I'm missing from this portion of the agenda?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we were just looking for some more direction from the board on what you all wanted to do. And I think this was a good high level brainstorm. I think the next piece is sort of, you know, a filter of what is the board's role in some of the ideas that you brought up, and what strategically can be done in the amount of time that this board convenes or could convene. But I think we have a wealth of more specific suggestions and areas of interest than we did before, all of which are really compelling. So I think we're in a good spot, at least to do some more background work and research to figure out what moving something like that forward would look like.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Looks like we're even slightly ahead of schedule. So we are going to move on to our final agenda item, updates. Starting with the Beaverton Night Market planning update. Is that Jody or Alexis?
We're going to do a little combo. Jody, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I think what we talked about at the end of our last subcommittee meeting is maybe we would throw some details out and subcommittee would share in a supporting way. So wondering if you want to do the honors to start, or if you'd like me to. Jody.
I think, Alexis, you go ahead. I'm feeling a little scattered since I just got back into town and I'm not sure where it was left.
Sure. So I will share perhaps the highest level details, which you have also in the staff liaison announcements that I just sent out a little bit ago, which is that we have a date and a location for the market. And we also have some applications coming online very soon for vendors. So as you all know, the market is going to be in person this year, and the committee, thank you all for being a part of that, has met 3 times, both to discuss the overall logistics and then to discuss 3 different location options that we had, and to really hone in a little bit more on how we want to start messaging and thinking about the logistics of this year's event. So high level, the event is going to be on Friday, August 13th and Saturday, August 14th in the evenings. We don't have the exact times. It'll probably be a little bit longer than it usually is in order to accommodate more people. The plan is to continue to monitor COVID restrictions, but probably to do a ticketed and limited entry sort of scenario so that we can control the number of people that are allowed by county guidelines within the space at once, and also to separate things like you know, an eating area from the general market space. So there's lots of regulations in place right now. Hopefully that will continue to loosen as people get vaccinated, but we're operating under what are currently the guidelines, with the hope and you know, ability to be more flexible later if and when things get better. We are the plan is for the event to take place in downtown Beaverton. We're looking at the intersection, or we're not looking at, we made the decision finally after a lot of business outreach and discussion to host it. The main intersection at the center of it is First Street and Tucker Avenue, and then spreading out in mostly a T formation, but maybe a little bit of a cross depending on where we could do all of our sort of check-in and setup information. And so we're scoping out that and building the site map for that piece. We are opening vendor applications this Thursday. So they'll be open from April 15th to June 1st. And we will also simultaneously open up the applications for that COVID relief grant for Beaverton Night Market vendors that you all have advised on, that Rachel Teamy has come to the board several times on. So we'll open that. Also at the beginning, we'll announce both of those. That grant opportunity for past vendors will be open for 2 weeks and close on the 29th. And again, vendor applications will continue for about the 6-week period. We'll be using the same platform, online platform that we used last year, and making selection decisions after that June 1st deadline, with notifying vendors midway through June. So those are a couple of the high level logistical pieces. I will yield the mic if Jody or other committee members want to say a little bit about what we've been discussing or what you're excited about for this year's market.
I think I'd like to add really quick, you did a great synopsis, Alexis, and thank you for adding all that detail. Just as in all years in the past, and this year in particular, because we are facing the challenge of there not being a lot of in-person events. We're super excited to be able to host this one in person, and the recruiting of vendors, as always, is a group effort. I feel like it is super important this year more than ever that we use social media to be able to share the word about the event itself, but also about the opportunity for emerging businesses or people with a business idea to come forward. And this is a great spot for them to test that out. So I look forward to your help and support in sharing that word.
Yeah, and I think we talked about how we could get the word out to our respective communities. You know, maybe you have some sort of, like I talked about, we could advertise it in our local ethnic bazaars and keep a eye out on how many tickets are sold or how many tickets are not sold, given out, or you know, or whatever apps, whatever WhatsApp groups you have, or whatever wider community you can reach. So you know, so just we need some ideas on how we can get out to our respective communities and get as many people involved, many vendors as possible to apply. Different vendors, you know, people that haven't had the opportunity before. So, you know, just think about that.
There will be a digital flyer coming out in addition to, as far as recruiting. I'm not sure if we are doing paper flyers or not. I believe that we are doing a limited run of the paper flyers, but in this COVID time, a digital flyer is going to be important as well to share the opportunity.
And did we decide on how many vendors we're gonna have? I think it was 30, was it?
I think that we are actually tomorrow taking a look at the decided location and sort of starting to flesh out a little bit more the how many vendors there will be, what the setup will look like. It's really a balancing act between having enough vendors to make a space feel exciting and full, and the restrictions on capacity that we're dealing with this year. So that's to say, I think we're in the neighborhood of 30 to 40.
Great, so more info to come, but thank you all for making the ask around recruitment. So we normally think about Night Market in terms of promotion in 2 different phases. This first phase is really about vendor recruitment. So people you know, businesses you know, places you like to frequent that you think would be good for this type of event. We're looking for people who like to who want to share their culture through what they sell, whether that be food or crafts or products from other places. The most important thing is that they have a desire to help share that through what they sell. So we will send out those graphics, as Jody said, and all of the stuff will be up on the website. Is evolving as we speak, but definitely will be ready to go by Thursday with the vendor application information and that grant information. And then after applications close on June 1st, that's when we'll transition the messaging to please get your tickets for the event, your free tickets for the event. And that messaging will be really directed at how do I get those tickets? Because we're going to try to direct that traffic in that way. There will probably be some on-site and some other flexibility in terms of getting into it, but we're not going to promote that. We're going to promote the primary way to get there is to get your ticket and to come during that time. Monica, go ahead.
Tomorrow we are having the first link that we're going to send you from the first promotion for vendors. We're doing on Thursday the first promotion for vendors, but I want you to look at the link and see if we miss anything or you want. I try to follow what you gave me, so it will be nice for you to look at that and see, because practically we are open to use the connection to the radio as many times we want between now and June 1st, which means different times we can call for vendors. So we will send you tomorrow the link, okay? Because I already did the audio. We did the audio already, so I want you to listen to that, please.
That's for KBOO, right, Monica?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also wanted to put out there really quick. I can't see if somebody else has their hand raised, but like always, if there is a person in your community or a person that you know of that feels really unsure that this is for them, that they can do it, that they know all the rules and guidelines and restrictions, that don't let that scare them away from applying or at least contacting me. And Alexis has all my information, so we can figure it out. It's simpler than what most people think.
What's the event date again?
August 13th and 14th.
Thank you.
I think that's all for night market update.
Do we have the hours yet?
Not definitively. It will depend on sort of that spacing of tickets, but we're thinking probably in the range of 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. or maybe
Oh, that's
even 11
good.
p.m. if
One
we
more hour. Yeah. Okay.
get permission to do that, depending on the activities. So should I just roll into staff liaison announcements? All right. Sounds good. Well, I will go ahead and I think I usually share my screen so that you all can see this. I sent it to your email as well. But I will go ahead and do that. So the first piece on there are the night market updates. So you have that information there. The second, these are I have 3 announcements from our cultural inclusion and community services programs, and then I'll get into the city updates. The second one is that our tax site in Beaverton is going to be extended. The tax deadline, as some of you may know, has been extended at from the IRS, and then also locally, we're just seeing such an incredible use of that service and need for that service, especially with the stimulus payments, that we've decided to extend the tax site through July 15th. So wanted everybody to know about that. It is still by appointment only. So please make sure that if people need that service, that they know to call that number and make an appointment. And just a note that those services are for folks with a household income below 57,000. So really trying to target lower income households. Our Welcoming Week grants, which I mentioned last time, but those applications are open from now through May 7th. So if there's a community-based organization or an individual or a group that would like to participate in and host an official event during Welcoming Week this September, we have some funds to support you and would like to partner with you in that way. So please help spread the word about that as well. And then from our public information channels, the first piece, I sent a reminder to the town hall that happened. This is past, but on April 1st, there was a town hall about the senior affordable housing project and other projects along 5th Street. So if you missed that opportunity, but you'd like to watch it, the recording is up on the website. So you can watch that and follow up with any questions or information that you might need. Councilor Soucie did the city manager recruitment update, so that's great, but you'll see that information about the website there if you want more details. And then also the shelter, the Beaverton Winter Shelter is being extended through the end of May. it was going to end in mid-March, but it's going to be extended. It's actually the only congregate shelter in the county that has continued, and it's been an amazing 24/7 feat since November. So we're going to continue that a little bit longer with our partners at Just Compassion. And then of course the Spring Voters Forum, which you all know about because you are a co-sponsor. So make sure not to miss that on April 29th at 6:30. I believe that Rachel wrangled you all to get some questions to send over. So you'll get to see those and also participate that night. So there's a website, the beavertonoregon.gov/votersforum, or if you want to watch it on TVC-TV. Reminder about that event. And that's all I have for you for staff liaison announcements.
And today is the last day to submit your questions to me, so get them in.
Today by 11:59?
Sure. I'll look at them tomorrow. Does anybody else have any other general updates or anything they want to share before we say goodnight to each other?
I wanted to share with you something personal, and on March 21st, I announced that it was the Persian New Year, and that's a kind of solar, and now tomorrow, I'm sorry, and that's a kind of mostly cultural thing, and it includes all the kind of regions that have been influenced by the old greater Persian Empire in the past. So as you saw, like Kurdish New Year was celebrated. We have people in Iraq, people in Russia, people in all over the world. They are celebrating the beginning of spring as the Persian New Year. And it was a great party. I wish all of you were there. And we danced, and we had the sky pouring on us, beautiful. And now tomorrow is going to be starting off the month of Ramadan, which is the fasting month for Muslims. That's a kind of lunar year. And so that's why Ramadan is not in specific time every year. So I wanted to wish everyone and say congratulations to all Muslims and whoever observes that month of Ramadan. We fast from dawn to dusk, no eating, no drinking. And so many people say, how come? It's possible. I've been doing it since I was 9. and that's the most favorite month of the year for me. So thank you for, I really congratulate everyone who is going to fast, and it's going to be phenomenal when we break our fast together at dawn and dusk, and it's a beautiful practice. One of the meaning of fasting in Arabic is patience. So it needs patience because you need to restrict yourself on many things, not just eating and drinking, so many things. And I wish us all luck to be able to do that kind of month of Ramadan. And thank you for giving me these few minutes to share with you, because I am so excited about it. And thank you. I love you all.
Can I also very quickly to add to Manijeh's comment? I'm not a Muslim, but coincidentally, I'm starting my fasting process from this afternoon. So I was but not in the same way as you. I was just 5 days to not eat. And it's a Chinese way to actually how to say that, to hear you, to clean your system. So I'm going to have my 3 days, hope 45 days, if I don't need a hike. So just to promote fasting. Fasting is good. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Sorry to keep you everyone late.
Yeah, but for Muslims, the main purpose is kind of praying, and And then the result is also cleansing and health as well.
Okay, good.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for letting me join your meeting tonight. I learned a lot and I found it very interesting. The work you're doing is so important. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Donna. We appreciate you. And as always, thank you each and every one of you for being at our meeting, not just because you have to be here and you're on DAB, but because, you know, you guys
We love to be here.
Yes. So there's that. Yes, so I'm just gonna throw out there, tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm excited. I know my work, coincidentally, we had a good first quarter, so they're gonna have a food truck, and I told HR today, I was like, oh, you didn't have to get food trucks for me for my birthday. You know, they laugh, they're like, it's not for you. Anyways, I went to Costco after work today and bought myself a full sheet cake to take to work, because if no one's gonna, you know, no one deserves it more than me. So yes, I bought a whole Costco sheet cake for myself, and the whole office is gonna enjoy it. So yes.
Happy
birthday, Teresa.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Teresa.
I will take your time to sing in Persian to happy birthday to you. تولد تولد تولدت مبارک 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 تولدت مبارک خودت شاد و دلت شاد همیشه زنده باشی باشوشه ما رو فوت کن که 100 سال زنده باشی. So I wish you to live 120 years.
Thank you. I hope so too.
We need you. I mean the world needs you. Love you all.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Happy birthday, Teresa. Good to see everyone's faces, and we'll see you next month. Take care.
Take care. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.